Hello again. Last lecture we started with the mother talking about the priest and how the priest is going to help them stop partly. But Nora tells the mother that the priest is not going to help them in any way. And she heard from some friends that Bartley will take the trip anyhow. So Maria says, where is he itself? Where is he himself? So he asks about Bartley. Guys, be careful. We have strange grammatical structures sometimes in this play because this is like the Irish English. It's not entirely English, and they use English in. I don't say that their language is different, but some of the expressions might sound odd or strange to us as English speakers. So, for example, in this case here, where is he itself? We usually say where is he himself, not itself. But for the Irish people, they used to speak like that in the past, especially on that island, which is the Irishman. Nora, he went down to see would there be another boat sailing in the wick. And I'm thinking it won't be long till he is here now, with the tides turning at the Green Head and the hookers tracking from the east. So the Green Head is a location, of course, and hookah's traffic. This is the type of a boat. It's a boat name, if I may say. So Nora says that Bartley may come back at any second because he went there just to see if there is another ship traveling, so he can prepare himself for that. Kathleen, I hear someone passing the big stones. While they are talking, they hear some footsteps on the stones. At that time, especially on that island, they used stones to pave the road, so they could hear the sound of footsteps of people walking outside the house. And when Bartley comes back home, they all can hear the sound very well. Nora looking out, he's coming now, and he in a hurry, and he is in a hurry. So Bartley comes in, looks round the room, speaking sadly and quietly. So look at the tone of his, let's say, the tone that he is using while he speaks. He is speaking sadly and quietly. So one may ask this question, why is he both sad and quiet? It is he or it is himself who doesn't want to comply to the mother and take the trip, and still he is sad. So we can explain that in multiple ways. For example, first, he is sad and quiet because he just lost a brother, Michael, or maybe he knows that the trip is going to be a terrible trip, but still he is obliged to go there. Why? Because at that time only the males went outside the house and they were working, trading, buying and selling items to make a living. So from this perspective, we may see him as a breadwinner. And as the only breadwinner in the family, he is obliged to take risks, like going to the sea in such a terrible weather. So he asks about what? Where is the bit of new rope, Kathleen, was brought in Connemara. So where is the rope that was brought in Connemara? So it seems even the rope is from outside the island. That is to say, on the island they produce almost nothing. They just depend on the outside world for all of their supplies and all of their necessities. Kathleen, coming down, give it to him. Give it to him, Nora. It is on a nail by the whiteboards. I hung it up in the morning, for the pig with the black feet was eating it. So the rope was with the white birds, and we said that these birds were built to make a coffin. And usually the coffins were lowered into the grave by a bit of rope. So now Bartley is taking the rope, which was earlier bought for burying somebody. So this is not something good. Like he is using something that was meant for a dead man. And at the same time, this rope was being eaten by by the pig with the black feet. This is also another foreshadowing. So it means that something terrible is going to happen, and it will be because of that rope, because of that piece of rope. Nora giving him a rope. Is that it, Bartley? Modia, you would do right to leave that rope, Bartley, hanging by the boards. Bartley takes the rope. It will be wanting in this place, I'm telling you. If Michael's washed up tomorrow morning, or the next morning, or any morning in the week, for it is a deep grave, we will make him by the grace of God. So the mother says it would be best if you leave that piece of rope in the house because they are going to need it when they bury Michael once the body is found. So Bartley doesn't seem to listen, beginning to work with the rope. I have no halter, the way I can ride down on the mare, and I must go now quickly. So he has no halter. Halter is a piece of specialized rope which is used for controlling a horse. Usually, for example, the one that is used for riding a horse or the one that is used for towing a horse. When you, for example, have more than one horse, you tie them together and then ride one of them so they will follow you. So he's going to use this rope to control the second horse, which is the great pony. All right. I must go now quickly. This is the only, or this is the one boat going for 2 weeks or beyond it. The fare will be a good fare for horses, and I had them saying below. So he says that if I miss this ship or this boat, then I will have to wait for at least 2 weeks or even more than that, because there would be no other boats going out to the fair, to the, let's say, the place that we just mentioned. What was his name? Let's see. One second. Let me just find the name. The Galway Fair. Yeah. These names are so strange that sometimes you just don't remember them, no matter how many times you use them. All right. So, uh, one second. For horses, I had them saying below. So the sun says I had some people saying that this Galway Fair would be great for selling horses. But if you have noticed, they have only second-hand information. I heard them saying so. The priest is saying that, for example. So they don't talk directly to other people, but they hear from others. That is to say, this might not be true. Or let's say they don't have any reliable sources of information. They hear from someone saying that this thing is good, but they don't know for sure if it is good or not. So Moria says, it's a hard thing. They will be asking below if the body is washed up and there is no man in it to make the coffin. And I, after giving a big price for the finest white boots you will find in Connemara. So the mother thinks about burying Michael. She says, I heard from some people that it would be difficult, it would be tough if there is no man in the house to bury the dead one. Why? Because they will have to make the coffin, they will have to, for example, wash the dead body and then lower the coffin into the grave. And these things are not done by women. So that's why she says, or she is worried about, let's say, she's worried about the fact that Bartley is leaving the house and there will be no one in the house. when the body is found. She looks around at the whiteboards. Bartley, how would he, how would it be washed up? And we, after looking each day for 9 days, and a strong wind blowing, a while back from the west and south. So the son is sure that the body will not be found there because he is somehow familiar with the sea and the way that the wind works on the sea. Modia, if it wasn't found itself, the wind is raising the sea, and there was a star up against the moon, and it's rising in the night. If it was 100 horses, 1,000 horses, you had yourself itself. And what is the price of 1,000 horses against a sun where there is only one? So the mother is trying to prevent the son from going to the sea. She says, it doesn't matter if you have 1 horse or 1,000, because even if you have 1,000 horses, they would be nothing if you compare them to a son where there is only one son left in the family, because Bartley is the last remaining male member in the family. So she's worried about Bartley's life, but Bartley is worried about selling the horses. And in this case, it's complicated because two of them are right. Bartley is the breadwinner and he wants to earn something for the family so that they can live on. And the mother is, as a mother, she has witnessed the death of 5 sons, the husband and the husband's father, and she doesn't want to lose Bartley the same way because it seems that when the weather was terrible, whoever went to the sea didn't come back or didn't make it back. So let's see. Bartley, working at the halter, still working, trying to make a halter out of the piece of rope, to Kathleen, let you go down each day and see the ship aren't jumping in on the right. And if the jobber comes, you can sell the pig with the black feet if there is a good price going. So Bartley is advising the daughter to take care of the family business, to watch, to look after the sheep, to sell the pig with the black feet to the jobber. The jobber is just like somebody who is selling and buying items and animals. And he advises her to get a good price for it. Moria, how would the like of her get a good price for a pig? The mother says, how's that possible? She cannot get a good price. Why? Because ladies at that time used to stay at home. They didn't take care of the family business. So they had no idea how to run the house business and how to buy and sell items, how to take care of things. Be careful, this is written at the beginning of the 20th century. If you have seen pictures from the Victorian society, most of the ladies were just staying at home. They were just housewives. But in the early 20th century, women started to go outside the houses and they started working. At the beginning of the Second World War, almost everything changed. Ladies started fighting in the front lines, started working in the factories because of the necessities of the age. Men were fighting in the battlefield, so they needed, as they say, workforce, and they used women. So the Second World War actually gave the opportunity to women to become not just a housewife but a breadwinner, somebody who can take care of herself and others as well. And just to make it more familiar with you, the same thing is happening and happened in the 80s in our country, where men were busy fighting in the Iraq-Iran war. Women were taking care of the business, especially farming and other things. Okay, so This situation, where there was no male left in the family, gave the opportunity to the females to take, let's say, part in the family business and to deal with others, to sell, to buy, to take care of, let's say, the field, etc. So it continues. Bartley to Kathleen, and Bartley doesn't seem to care about what the mother said. And this is something that we can notice in the modern texts, because usually in the modern texts we have this conflict between the old generation and the younger generation. The fathers, the mothers are always fighting with their children. And I think you have witnessed the same even among yourselves. I I even face such problems myself. The older generation, they have one thing, they keep it saying. They keep saying it over and over again. For example, um, I was a college student myself, and I remember every time I talked about college, they were telling me that you don't study enough, you don't do your work well. And I was like telling them, I'm the top student, so what else do you want me to do? But still, they didn't get it. They kept repeating the same thing. So we have this conflict always between the, let's say, the older generation and the newer generation. For example, for you, for your generation, whenever you say, I have a problem, they say it's because of the phone, it's because of the iPad, it's because of the computer. Why? Because they think that all the things that happen to you are because of that. If you say, for example, my leg is broken, they say it's because of the phone. You don't see the place that you are working on. So we have this conflict between the generation, all generations, always. It's not like, for example, just the past or just the present moment. It would be the same even in the future. For example, when you become parents or grandparents, you will have a different mentality from your, for example, grandchildren, who would be using things that you think that are not suitable or bad. All right, so let's continue. Bartley, talking to Kathy, if the west wind holds with the last bit of the moon, let you and Nora get up. Enough weed, or weed enough, for another cock for the calf. And it is hard set we will be from this day, with no one in it but one man to work. So Bartley advises the two sisters to bring enough weed, enough dry grasses for burning inside the house. If you remember, we said they have a pot oven, they use weed and, for example, wood for setting it on fire and using it for baking. So they will need more for the wick, because it's going to be windy and it is going to be cold, so they will need more fire. And he also says that it would be difficult when there is only one man in the house to take care of all the things, the business, the maintenance of the house, etc. And Moria replies, it is hard said we will be surely, the day you are drowned with the rest. What way will I live with the girls with me? And an old woman looking for the grave. The mother says it would be even harder the day you are drowned with the rest of your brothers, and there would be no one left except myself and the daughters. So how will we continue to live, or how will we live? So Bartley lays down the halter, takes off his old coat and puts on a new one for the same flannel, of the same flannel. And remember this, he takes off his old coat and he wears a new one. And that coat, or that, let's say, the clothes that he is wearing does not belong to him. It's actually from Michael's clothes, okay? Bartley to Nora, is she coming to the pier? She's talking about the ship. And pier is the wood structure that we have that goes into the sea, where ships and boats can dock on it. Nora, looking out, she's passing the green hat and letting fall her sails. So the boat is preparing to, let's say, to stop by the pier or by the port, and she is dropping the sails. Sails are the pieces of clothes that they have. At that time, they relied on the wind for moving across the oceans and the seas. But nowadays, most of the boats are, let's say, powered by an engine. So Bartley, getting his purse and tobacco, I will have half an hour to go down, and you will see me coming again in 2 days, or in 3 days, or maybe in 4 days if the wind is bad. So he takes the trip, but he doesn't know what time will he come back. And this is not good. For example, when you go to the market, you say, I will come back in the evening. But when you go somewhere and you say, I don't know, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, or even day after tomorrow, which is something terrible, it means that you have no idea what will happen during the journey. So let's see. Maria, turning round to the fire, putting her shawl over her head. Isn't it a hard and cruel man won't hear a word from an old woman, and she is holding him from the sea? So the mother says it's terrible when there is a man in the house who is so hard hearted and cruel, who doesn't listen to his own mother, who was trying to save him from the sea. Kathleen, isn't it? It is the life of a young man to be going on the sea, and who would listen to an old woman with one thing, and she is saying it over. So the daughter, the elder daughter, says that this is how young people live, and who would listen to an old woman talking the same thing over and over again? And notice the way that she is talking and she is addressing the mother. Nobody calls his or her mother an old woman, but she does that purposefully. So it means that, let's say, they have no morality left. The younger generation, they are somehow immoral. They don't believe in anything. Look at how she talks to, or how she talks about her own mother, an old woman who is saying the same thing over and over again, just like a radio, for example. Bartley taking the halter. I must go now quickly. I will ride down the red mare, and the great pony will run behind me. The blessing of God on you. He goes out. The mother crying out as he is in the door. Before the sun is outside the door, the mother starts crying, and she shouts, He is gone now, God spare us. We will not see him again. He is gone now, and when the black night is falling, I will have no son left in the world. So, as the sun is getting outside the house, she says that we will not see him again because he is going to die. Kathleen, why wouldn't you give him your blessing and he looking round the door? Isn't it sorrow enough is on everyone in this house without you sending him out with an unlucky word behind him, a hard word in his ear? So the daughter complains and says that it is terrible that you say such thing to your son as he goes out. Instead of blessing the son, you say that you will not see him again. Maria takes up the tongs and begins raking the fire aimlessly without looking round. So the tongs, like sticks, a stick that you usually use for, let's say, changing the place of a fire, or let's say to take out the ashes from the fire, etc. So she makes herself busy with the fire. Instead of saying anything, she keeps herself busy at the fire. Okay, Nora, turning towards her, you are taking away the turf from the cake. Since she is doing it unconsciously, she is putting the fire away from the cake, which is not something she's supposed to do because they bake the cake using the fire, and when the fire is, let's say, is put away from it, it will not bake it. All right, Kathleen crying out, "The Son of God, forgive us, Nora. We are after forgetting his bit of bread." And at this moment, Kathleen realizes that they haven't given Bartley any piece of bread. And by the way, guys, bread is something that we eat to survive, to continue living. But it is also a bless, especially for the Christians. When Jesus' people were hungry, they had nothing but one basket of bread and some fish. And Jesus prayed, and suddenly the baskets were all filled with bread. So that's why the Christians usually think that bread is sacred. Bread is sacred because it was like a blessing given by God to Jesus and to, let's say, to people in general. And if you have noticed in the churches, they have small pieces of bread that they give to people who are praying inside the church. For myself, I thought for a while that it's like something like potato chips or something like that. But later on, I discovered that it's bread. So this bread is sacred for them. So it means that the son didn't, let's say, or the son was not blessed with bread. That's why he is going to die. So, and on the other hand, when somebody doesn't take anything to eat, it means that this person will not need anything to eat. In other words, that this person will die because dead people don't eat. She comes over to the fire and it is destroyed. He will be going till dark night. And after he after eaten nothing since the sun went up. It seems that Bartley didn't eat anything from the early morning, and now he just took his travel without taking anything to eat. And when Nora says he will be destroyed till the dark night, this is also foreshadowing that he will be literally destroyed because he is going to drown in the sea and die just like the rest of his brothers. All right, that's it for this lecture. We will continue from here next week. Enjoy your time and see you next week.